We are live on YouTube. And I'll start.
And you're recording?
Back up.
Welcome, and I'd like to call the Cities Association of Santa Clara County Executive Committee meeting to order. Today is the 26th of March. And I welcome everyone in the city of Saratoga, in the beautiful city of Saratoga. May we have roll call, please, John?
Elliot Scazola,
He let me know he couldn't make it.
Rosemary Kamei. Here. Barry Klein,
Here.
Jared Fruin,
Here.
Tina Walia.
Here.
We have one.
Wonderful. Do we have oral communications on non-agendized items, shall we?
No, there's no one online.
Wonderful. Let's get started with the agenda, consent agenda, letter A. We have minutes from the executive committee meeting from February 27th, 2026. Any changes suggested from committee members? Seeing none, any public comment?
No one online.
No public comment, bring it back to the committee. Motion to approve minutes?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moved to approved unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the president's update. I think we will cover most of the things in the other agenda items. Just one quick thing. The website work is continuing, as I shared at the last board meeting. Agenda item C. That is the June 11th, 2026 membership event. And let's receive an update from Executive Director Travis Serkin.
Thank you. So I'll just go over it very quickly. We have a location, Prospect Hall here in Saratoga. We're being offered that venue for free. The caterer that I am working with is Mandala Restaurant. So we'll see if we can make it. And then we talked last time about wanting swag, like something to give in our new. So I looked up lapel pins because I know let's see those. And they're less than $100. Oh wait, sorry, they're less than $10 for 100 lapel pin. Some people use like First Place, which is where we get our awards from. And then I checked another place and it was also less than $10 for 100. So, I mean, I
I'm assuming they're plastic pins and plastic backing, or
have no idea.
Do they look like that?
We don't have lapel.
as
pins.
far as I know, this. When I buy them through online, because I buy lots of different types, it's normally like $4 a piece until you get to 100. But if you're doing your own design, it's still, I think, like the best I've seen is like $250 a piece. You're talking more like $250 or $300 for your own design for 100. So I would send me the link. I'd be interested because I've looked at creating pins and I buy beyond the city pins. It's like I had 25. Dish Dash had their 25th anniversary Tuesday, and I bought 25 numbers, and I was passing them out for their staff and their owner and all that. So send me the link because that seems a little low.
Okay.
I would assume it's at least $300.
And I also wanted to know, are these like enamel pins? Are they embossed pins? Like what are they?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she meant $10 a piece.
No,
Oh,
that's what I'm like, it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
no.
Yeah, it's a little bit,
it starts at like $10 a piece if you want 3. And then then it drops, it's like, it's a gradient scale.
right, but if you're getting 100, you should get a good.
I probably don't need
See,
a
the
hundred.
$3.
$250 to $3 a piece sounds more like a regular.
Is that what I should look for?
Well, I mean,
That's what I'm guessing you'd see.
yeah, I mean, maybe looking at the vendor, because if it's a nice,
Yeah.
like what you have on is what people would probably like.
Right.
And at,
I use
$250 a
Pinmart,
piece.
pinmart.com for
Yeah.
a whole bunch of, 100 for the seniors that are turning 100 years and all those sorts of things. So I got lots of pins. Shake Shack opens up on Wednesday, so I have 5 or 10 hamburger pins that I'll be, we're passing
Yeah,
out to the
yeah, yeah.
owners and staff.
I asked Victoria and she said they use first place awards, which is where we get our awards.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. Yeah, double check from a pricing, because that
Yeah.
doesn't seem right.
okay. But I'll-
And I could see, for a city standpoint, where they're doing 1,000 pins or whatever.
Yeah,
But
it's
even
done
then, it's
before.
probably going to be $1. It's not gonna be that cheap.
Then no more than $2.50 to $3 per pin is what I will aim for.
I think that's the normal,
Mhm.
yeah. But it also depends on, you're right, if it's just a piece of plastic.
I know, if it was put
Yeah.
out through like,
Yeah.
basically a maker that's just
Yeah.
printing them out,
Yeah,
with a 3D printer, yeah, you'll get what you pay for.
but what you have on is what I would normally think that people would
Would
really
actually
buy.
want, yeah.
Yes, that's what we have for most of our city. I'm not wearing mine, but.
I probably don't need 100. You mentioned it. No.
You
Well,
do,
if I-
you get
if I-
90,
yes,
you need 100.
90,
If you're going to
91.
do it,
You may
buy 100.
buy 100,
Okay.
yeah.
Or more
Wow.
if you get a better price.
Yeah.
100 we'll need because there are 80 attendees typically at that
Yeah.
event. Somewhere in there.
There are, if you were to count all the members, there are 91 members.
Council members, 91? 15 times whatever, 5, 7.
Because some are 7, some are 5.
Sure, yeah.
So when you add
So
them up that
91.
way, it's 91.
So you need 100.
And
for
then
sure.
city managers and.
Right.
Yes.
You wanna have a few.
Exactly.
So 200?
200?
Is that?
I don't
I'm
know.
just
Two
asking.
pricing at
Yeah,
one,
you gotta go see what it
150 and
is.
200.
Look into it.
Okay, I'll share the cost before I do anything.
Sure.
Is there anything else that's meaningful that you would want as swag? I'm trying to avoid like kitschy things that people are just gonna throw in the back of their car. I thought pins were really nice.
I think that was the idea JR brought up at the last TC meeting also, right, JR?
Mhm.
Oh.
That's why he's quiet today.
So as soon as I find the vendor and as soon as you all approve the logo, I have enough runway to not have to do expedited shipping.
Yes,
So-
that would be nice.
Okay, do you want me to go into more details of like the decorations and that kind of stuff? Are you interested?
Budget wise, my question, actually, let me hold my questions.
Oh,
Any member of the EC, why don't you finish what you want to
okay,
and then we
Then-
proceed?
okay, because then budget wise, with the room that we're getting for free, thank you, Leslie. We're getting tables, chairs,
Audio.
audio,
microphones.
podium, I think.
Mhm.
We're getting all of that stuff for free. The only thing we have to provide is tablecloths. Now, I've been speaking to the restaurant, my contact over there, right? And depending on, other than food, depending on what else we want them to bring, such as plates and that kind of thing, that the cost has to be adjusted. So I'm gonna ask him if he has tablecloths, and if so, how much will that change for us?
That's-
Cause
I have some questions, but
Yeah.
Larry, did you?
So normally,
Go for it.
normally on any of, and I don't know what has been in the past, but normally on any event, it'd be really good to, and I think we talked about getting together on a, sort of like setting up a skeleton of events, right? You have a budget, right? And you have past, what you've spent in the past, right? And so as you look at the budget, this is how much you spent for food. This is how much you spent for awards. This is how much you spent
so I
for.
have that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
but
kinda
what
all
I'm
over the
saying, what
place.
I'm saying is that if you're within the budget, right? And you are able to, for example, if you budget for venue, I don't know, I'm just throwing the number out there, $3,000 for venue. And you're not paying for the venue, then you have a little bit more money to put in other areas, right? So I think that as long as we're within the budgeted item, in terms of what you allocate to each should, for me, fall within those, budget.
So
As opposed to, I'm not gonna tell you, oh, pink napkins or no, the tablecloth, I'm not gonna go to that detail as long as, what you've allocated has been sort of like within the budgeted amounts. And hey, if we have more money for food or more money for I don't know, sodas or whatever it is, then, great for us. And if we have leftover, even nicer for us, right? So I kind of would leave that up
That
to you.
level of detail I shared with you in the email earlier today.
Yeah,
So
but I
we're
mean,
not-
I'm just saying that if
But
it's
I-
within budget,
We've always been over budget.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that the only time that it would come up is if you are over budget, right? But if you're working within budget and you're not paying for the venue, then that's a little bit more money for something else, right?
I hear you. So I have a
Yeah.
couple of questions, but I'll wait for, your thoughts. Okay, so my questions would be, as Shali just brought up, we have been over budget, and the last couple of years, one thought has been that we are not allocating in proportion to what the realistic costs are, and that's even before the inflation hit. So my question would be, I have actually 3 or 4 questions, but the first question would be, what is the budget dollar amount? Because then all the details can be sorted out, as you just said, Rosemary. I agree with you. So what is the budget? We have not been charging a ticket for the summer event in the last 3 years. And yet the budget this year was somehow
We did charge tickets.
we charged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only last year we didn't.
Last year
Um,
was the only year we did it. But previously, I think it was $50.
Not for
It's
the
been-
summer events,
Not
not for the summer events.
Like-
That's,
El Camino Health covered Nice's.
For the summer?
Mhm.
Yeah, they did. Actually, they did. That's right. I'm looking at my own chart.
Right, we only,
Okay.
we mainly,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
historically, we found sponsors and then for the summer
The summer?
and cover the majority of it, if not all of it. And then charge for only the winter event.
Oh, okay. Actually, that is what I have in this chart. Did I send this chart to you all? Okay.
you sent that to me, we were
Okay.
emailing each other. That's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
But so we did not charge for the summer event the last 3 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, so with that, my question of the committee is, how do you want us to proceed this time? What is the budget? Do we look for sponsors? Is there a dollar amount we budget for? And then I have some other specific questions on that. I would like to really hear.
And I also like to remind everybody that in the fiscal year 26 budget that was passed by the board, there is $3,000 in the budget. Which is
From,
from the operating budget.
We set aside 3,000 for summer.
oh, so we have to, I just want to make sure that's not the ticket price. That's what I was saying.
Correct.
So we have $3,000. Okay. And so we have 3,000 in the budget. Is it realistic to get anything 3,000?
I know that's why we've been going over.
Okay. And so we look for sponsors?
Yes. And I was gonna talk a little bit about that in the budget report.
Yeah. Jerry, your thoughts?
For me. If we're constantly running over, it feels like it's appropriate to at least put something further into the budget so that we're not constantly running.
For the next year's budget, but for this summer event.
Yeah.
Right.
What do we do is my question for this agenda item. But very quickly, not to take too long on this
We
item.
can reallocate budget.
Reallocate?
Right.
Or
We have
Larry?
we have reserves. We can, all you have to do is come back to council commission.
Okay. Okay, no, I get it, Jer and Larry, reallocate.
A budget adjustment. To,
So,
Rosemary?
so I don't know how the 3,000 was allocated, but we have 91 members.
Mhm.
What is a reasonable amount to say per person that the organization should spend? That to me is more relevant than saying, oh, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5.
Yeah,
it's
so
7.
that's.
So I
that's
think-
fine.
I
That's
think
great.
in like, in terms of what we feel is a reasonable for the summer event, for the winter event, should be an amount per person.
Okay,
I think that's a reasonable way of guiding, well, what should this budget be?
Yeah.
correct. So let me then ask you this before we go into detail. Shelley, I know you have done work on that. So how do we see this happening? The last 3 years that I remember, and Larry would have a lot more input, you've been with the organization so long, we have had a good sit-down dinner, we have an event, we have a panel discussion, and that's the part I've not even talked about yet, the board priority and what I'm working on. With that, we typically have people come in, some appetizers, drinks, and we can talk about that, wine or not. We've had wine, but that's a separate question.
Right.
And then we have dinner, which is buffet dinner while the board priority, whatever that item is, panel discussion going on. So is that something reasonable, at least very, very high level? Yes? Yes?
Yeah.
Rosemary? Okay.
It seems people enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, and we are actually conducting business
Yeah.
for the
Right.
summer event we
Right.
have every year.
A lot of people commented very positively about the Kevin Duggan event
Yep.
last year.
Yep, including people I wouldn't have expected to comment positively on.
Yeah.
Oh, talk
was-
of pressure.
It was very well, no, it was just very well received. And I think that I was also rather surprised at people's willingness to allocate more budget for the winter social event as well. So it seems like folks are interested in this piece of what we do, and so.
Right, the social interaction of cities association, of getting to know you know, we don't, it's councils, for one thing, have it difficult because they're confined by the Brown Act so much, but then getting to know council members from across the county. You know, just, I think having these events, whether, and having it last year's was good governance, but having these topics and, you know, at a table discussion, having, you know, not just the panels, but the table discussions around the specified topic for the event as well as other things. I think that has a lot of value. I
Okay,
think people appreciate it.
And then also the networking hour or half hour in the front.
Yeah.
That lets people come, they come late.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So we have $3,000. We can try to get sponsors, reach out to the ones who have supported us in the past. So what kind of dollar amount or visioning am I hearing from the
We
committee here? Because I can work with Shally and Leslie has been helping me with some thoughts.
So
So I would say increase, you know, go ahead and increase the budget as an agenda item, saying that in the meantime, you know, so $50 a person, I don't know how much, the problem is how much additional funds do you need? We haven't really defined
Yeah.
that well. But $50 a person would be close to 4,500, 5,000.
I can,
Yeah.
Oh,
I could
sorry.
just say, there's kind of two thought processes that you could approach us with. One is, you know, if you go with like Mandala, because they're not kind of that full catering, of them providing the plates and you know, do they come back and get the plates and what do you do? You're kind of piecemealing that. It might be a little bit cheaper, but it may not, because if you have, they may not be able to do that, so you might have to find somebody that just provides kind of the dinnerware and all that versus going to something like a caterer. And we've got kind of two different catering companies here in Saratoga that do this. And you're looking at more with the kind of that full service of napkins that are wrapped with the dinnerware and the plating. They will come, do it, take it away, do it all. But you're looking at more like $60 a person a head. So you might think about, if you're gonna do the budget, it might be worth doubling that. Cause I think you said it was $3,000, so.
Going to 6,000 and then figuring out whether or not it's a caterer or a cheaper event, you know, it's like you still have a few months, and so I think asking for authority and saying, we're trying to do far less than this, but I just need the authority just in case it goes over.
And I do that at the board meeting. Okay,
And then say, I'm looking for sponsors and making sure that, you know, because it all depends on the topic sometimes.
yes.
It's like, some organizations will just fund to have their name and being able to speak for a minute, or some organizations want to like, oh, it's a related topic to our our efforts, so we want to, we'll be there.
Okay, so one question for the committee members, do we want to focus on Saratoga restaurants or manage budget, any kind of food? We just started with mandala because that's Indian and people have been asking me, or I have some other thoughts.
The president normally chooses a restaurant or caterer in their city.
In their city. Okay.
That's the concept of it, and that's why, you know, moving president and all that from city to city makes a difference because, you know, you're also getting a view of the county.
Yes. And that's where we started, and so Leslie, thank you, Larry. Leslie, you, I think we'll have to, but we'll have to work on this because we have a lot of high-end restaurants, and you brought up a great point, that's what I'm trying to say, about the catering, because Mandala's food is good, but they don't even have a catering menu. And coincidentally, I was talking with some friends who have been arranging events, but the caterer is just outside Saratoga's boundary.
I think that there's two that, you know, we've looked at Napkin Ring.
Mhm.
We could also look at, I think it's Gunther's that Foothill Club uses.
Mhm.
And I think what we can just do is based on the approved budget, you know, we can tell them this is what our budget is and they can provide a lovely dinner
Mhm.
within that budget versus, you know, so I think it can be managed, but I personally think that knowing the setup of Friendship Hall and that, and just your needs of wanting it to be kind of a nice dinner, the better route would be to go with a caterer, versus trying to find a restaurant that really doesn't do this, because then you're looking at more
Okay.
hiccups probably,
Yeah.
even the day of.
But
But
I
I can work with
appreciate
you
that,
and
appreciate
Shelley.
that very much.
And I wanted to recap a conversation that Rosemary and I had with Andrew.
I was just coming to Rosemary next because she raised her hand. Rosemary, you want to say something?
So I think, if I were in Shelley's shoes, I would want clarity as to what is the organization willing to put out
Mhm.
versus the fundraising part. Because if you count what would possibly be the maximum that, you know, at $60, 91 is 5,460, right? If we're budgeting $60 per person, right, that the organization is gonna spend, then the budget is 5,460.
Yeah.
Now, if we say, oh, we're interested in trying to maybe spend $75 per person, and could that be covered by fundraising, right? I think that it's helpful for Shelley to know that in the summer, we'd like to raise up to $5,000, right? Which either adds to the pot of the 5,000, right? But she cannot ask, if we do want to stay below the threshold for reporting, each sponsor cannot give you more than about $4,000 or less, right? 3,600 is the most that our conversation with Andrew at $45 a person, that's as much as you can ask somebody.
And that's in a calendar year. So our sponsors last year pledged 5,000 at the end of the year. And at that, we would have triggered gift reporting, requirements. So I could only ask them for 3,600. Now that extra 1,400, we cannot roll it over to this year. And even if they gave us 1,400 now, they would have to give us like, what, 2,200? Up for the December event. So it's just, it's per person per sponsor per calendar year. And that was something that I didn't know that was calendar.
Andrew, is it
Yeah,
calendar
Lena.
year?
Andrew?
Yes, that's correct. For potential gift reporting, you essentially keep track of gifts from a sync per source per calendar year. That's
Okay.
correct.
So because their commitment was last year's event, can we get 36 for last year as their payment and 36 for this year as their payment?
Yes, because both would be less than, and I don't know exact number of attendees, but assuming it's about the same. Yeah, we want to keep it per source under $50 per attendee. And I think 45 is a reasonable target.
So we're using 45 as our number.
So, you know, like the question, you know, like in terms of 5,000, whatever it is that I said, as what the budget is, if we were to pay for it from, you know, our funds here. And if we wanted it to be more than that, we can say, okay, well, we'll fundraise a little bit, or we're gonna fundraise more, or whatever it is, so that it would cover whatever difference there is.
Okay, so what I'm.
And
But we're
I would
limited,
also-
we're limited.
And-
Right, and I would also just add, you know, we are sort of keeping these thresholds in mind, not to avoid any transparency here, because I think we would obviously want to be transparent with the board about how this is being funded. But it's really just to relieve the attendees of any potential obligations that on their part, that's they need to keep in the back of their head, they need to report in the next Form 700. So it's really just to make life easier for the attendees and not to avoid transparency anyway. So just wanted to say that.
Andrew, thank you. Your thoughts? So I'm hearing two things. We go to the board, ask for upping to $5,500. Is that to round off your
Yeah.
number, Rosemary?
Yes, that'd be $60, about $60.
Yeah, so we've asked for board authority to go to $5,500 budget adjustment. And adjustment is to go up to 5,500 from 3,000, right?
Yes.
From 3K, so the delta is between the two. Delta is only $2,500 more. Plus, we look for sponsors if we need to go beyond the price. And based on what I'm hearing from Leslie, if we go to, you didn't say this, but I'm picking up knowing Saratoga's restaurants and the catering stuff, we may end up having to go a little higher. That's my concern. And that's why I asked the question, because I started, of course, I want to showcase
Right.
Saratoga, and that's what I've been talking with Leslie. Unfortunately, I think that may increase our per person cost. And I don't want to be, there's no need for us to be discussing at length in the board meeting, but I want your feedback now. That's why I'm taking a little longer on this item. Is that okay?
Can I just, Andrew also clarified something for us that however much money the cities association pays does not trigger the gift reporting.
Of course,
We,
we were, never mind, your budget report,
That's why
we,
go, that's
got
why
it
going
every
to
time.
$50 makes it easier.
correct. Yeah, that's why Larry picked up on that,
So-
to go $60 per person from cities association. Rosemary.
So the question that I would ask is, to me, $60 is very reasonable. But given what you said about Saratoga restaurants, right? How much above the $60 would we go? You know, because personally, I would not go beyond $100 per person.
Oh, great.
You know, so I mean, I just am throwing it out there.
Give me a range. And Leslie, do you think we could work on this in the next week or so to get a tentative number? Because it so
Per
happened.
person?
Yeah, yeah, from these two.
Yes.
I know the numbers that Charlie reached out to Napkin Ring, because we were looking at them for December. The numbers that came out were, which surprised me, 12.5K plus 23%, which was like 15K just for food. Just for food, no room, no nothing. That is why I asked you a very important question. Do you want me to stay within Saratoga? I want to. But I want you to be aware, because literally 2 days ago with a friend who I happened to be talking to, I found out, stepping out of Saratoga, a restaurant that does catering for 200 to 300 people is way better price points with full
And-
service.
and
They have a
my-
company they do.
And my feeling is that, you know, if it's necessary, you know, I would leave it up, you know, to the group to, you know, say, because I do think that as elected officials, this is the people's money,
Yes.
right? And so therefore, I really think that we need to, you know, maintain the level of reasonableness, right? Because even at getting, This is the other thing, Andrew, like at $45 per person, does it mean per whoever is eligible? Because there are 91 of us who could potentially be out here, and participating, even though the number usually is like 80. Is it, you have to count the number of people who actually come?
Yes,
Yes.
that's why I think you should build in a little bit of buffer.
Okay, that's why the $45.
Right. I mean, to be safer, you could go down to 40, for example, to just make sure there's not a huge delta there. But that's why I don't think, again, for the ease of administration, not to avoid any transparency here, you don't want to do like 49, right? Because one or two people don't show up, that throws off the math.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I mean, you could go more conservative. You can go down to 40, go down to 35.
Okay. My next question on this one is, what about wine? How do we handle wine? We have traditionally had it. The question is sponsors.
Can we get donations? I mean, many of us know winery, well, I know wineries.
We have wineries here in Saratoga.
We have very good
I also-
wineries.
just- I also vote-
Just
I
up
also
the
vote.
street, just up the street here.
So I wouldn't deal with wine until you see, unless you take it to sponsors and say, other than that, iced tea and water and that's the plan. And if you get sponsors, then, because as we saw at the holiday party, it's like, is it better to have it hosted, not hosted? And we played those numbers and finally made a decision that it's like, oh, it's cheaper to kind of pay per drink than pay for an open bar. And that sort of thing, or even corkage fees sometimes, depending upon where you're holding it. So there's a lot of decisions, a lot of details that I wouldn't focus on here. Don't even bring it up, If you can provide alcohol, you can. If you can't, you can't.
Okay,
Water.
Yes, water and tea. I'd say iced tea.
thank you. Thank you. You have gone through the detailed how to work around this. So I appreciate that feedback. Thank you so much. Okay, Shelley, do you need anything else on this item?
No, I hope to get names of theaters and stuff and start working that way.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so a Saratoga place, that's the key.
And $60 per person is my limit.
We are rounding it off to $5,500 from the budget.
But it's
adjustment.
probably
When I-
in there somewhere.
Okay,
That's sort of your guide.
because you're saying the reasonable amount per person.
Yeah, so I picked up three things. Okay, the last thing on this item I want to share is, because that is the summer event. In line with aligning with the number one board priority of emergency preparedness, response and recovery. I'm going to put this here. Part of this will show up in the April draft agenda that we're going to talk of in a moment. I'm lining up that priority in April, May, June in 3 steps. And the June would be the panel discussion on that. So I can talk more there, just FYI for the summer event.
That's good.
That's it.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Mhm.
time to move on. Thank you. Okay, item number D for David, proposed fiscal year 2026-2027 budget. And that is again Shelley's item.
I'll try to go through it a little bit faster. So it says draft because what I presented to you is what I would like to present to the board. And so I'm just gonna mention just a few highlights. Well, you wanna like ticket sales, number 3. The figure also calculates a ticket price of $100 per person based on 91 council members, plus 9 more guests attend. So using 80 guests as the calculated number, the ticket price comes out to $62.50. So anyway, but I think what I'm hearing is that's a level of detail that probably already just discussed. Okay. Okay, so it sounds to me that finding sponsors is kind of a year-long activity.
Mhm.
And so what I would like to do is I would like to create a sponsorship package, which is something that I can go to potential sponsors with and just let them know if you sponsor this amount, this is what you get. like speaking role or 2 tickets or whatever.
Right.
But it sounds like the max that I could ask them for is 3,600.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
And I'll work with you, Shelley, to do the different levels. And I use it for some of the events that I do. And I have just a Google Doc that I send to people, please sign up, and so you have 500, 1,000, 2,500, and then the top one. And then what they get, and then the little check marks and stuff like that. It's very simple. It shouldn't, you shouldn't have to go through, you don't need some glossy thing, like, but it can be educational as well as, have a wine sponsor, have a food sponsor, so you can have little things, and I'll work with you.
okay.
And you could do that and make it a little bit simple.
I think we have a meeting on the books.
Yes.
All right. Can we skip down to office and number 5, the money for renting space? So I think whatever number I put here should be a not to exceed number, because so Tim said he's still getting the equipment or the technology for that
Okay.
room, so he doesn't want to give me the cost of how much. And this number here is from last year, where he said it might be $75 per hour, right? And we figured about 5 hours per meeting and 9 meetings. But I don't know, that may or may not be accurate. So what would be a good not to exceed number?
So I would ping Tim directly, which I'm doing right now, and ask him,
I did email him.
and hopefully, I know that they've been having they're trying to make it turnkey from an IT standpoint.
Mhm.
And so, so that we don't need as many hours. And that's why it's like basically free for now from an organization. But I know he's working on that, but I'm pinging him. But it's like, what did he give you as a quote last time?
Well, it's the 24.50, which is the $75 an hour.
So bump it to 90 and just leave it at that, and from a budget standpoint, and if it comes under, it comes under. My guess, and I'm bugging him to reply back to you that if he does it ahead of the meeting, then you can just roll it in.
So $90 per hour.
Just bump it up a little bit, and $100 is
Okay.
probably too much, but let's see. Problem is, we've added security for when it's, when they're staying past hours and all that.
Yeah. Okay. Time.
Anything else, Shelley?
Yeah, but actually kind of like the biggest one, really. So what I heard from the board discussion was that the board wanted some amount of flexibility in how to spend the extra money. Could it, take care of ticket prices for this? Could it go into LAIF? Could it go to, could we do a special program? And so what I propose is that we create a discretionary fund, which would be some amount of money. Like for now, I chose 16,000 because like half. And what it would be is if something goes over, you can take it out of there. Or if you want to do a program, you can take it out of there.
You know what? You've got, how many members do we have, board members? do we-
15.
Okay, you're gonna have 15 different ways in which people want their this, that, here, that. So, like right now, we reduce that amount from previously, and you're at 32, right? By the time you add the expenses for the space rental, you take out the amount that we're not charging for summer anymore,
Mm.
right? You can make it even lower, right? We're still working on the website. Who knows how, whatever, it's easier to set your budget, know what your expenditures are, sort of more or less. And if you have to do a budget along the way, You could do a mid-year review, like in 6 months, and say, my goodness, it turns out that the website needed a lot more because of da-da-da-da-da-da,
Right.
right? And then you do a budget adjustment. If you say, hey, everybody, we have $16,000 and
The
we
slush
can
fund.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, we can do whatever you want, right? You're gonna get inundated with, oh, I think this, I think this, I think this, da, 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 da. And then you're not gonna get agreement. I think one of the things that we have heard is that people like coming together, right? If it turns out that, hey, in the spring and in the winter, right? If people wanted to do something like a convening of some sort, we could potentially do something to get people together. But I would allow the transition that you have from last year. You had 48,000, almost 49,000, to really reflect more appropriately what things cost, what they should be. And given that, hey, what if we need more hours of your office person, right? It would be okay to say, guess what? We cannot find anyone to work for $6,000 a month. I mean, a year, for the time frame, part-time. We need to add a few dollars there, but you would not know that until maybe mid-year.
Yeah.
And you can adjust. So that gives you the flexibility and us the flexibility to later on adjust. Because I think this is a little bit of a transition year where you're actually, sort of honing down stuff a little bit more. So I would just go with what you got, increase the numbers that we talked about, and then sort of like take good notes for the next 6 months.
And what do I do with 32?
No, I'm gonna comment on that. I do want to hear from both of you, but I just want to add a sentence to what Rosemary said. This is the appropriate time to bring this up. This is your words, transition year, we are honing down stuff. At the last board meeting, I shared with you a list of, my words were extensive work on policies, procedures, and guidelines. We did a reserves policy planning collaborative, we did a records retention, which work still has to be done. Sunnyvale as the fiscal agent, we did that. Website update is going on, the LAIF setup. Then, of course, the city of Cupertino decided to request us for bylaws changes. All of that I have been reviewing with both the legal team coming to me and Shali. This year's hours for both of them, for good reason, are increasing at the pace they were 1 year ago. And with more policies coming in, I have a feeling, they have given me a heads up. Hopefully, we don't ask for a little more, even in the current fiscal year. We have enough money to cover that. But what the legal team has always come way under what we allocated for them. This year, what they might need is more than the allocation, but within our total, without increasing dues. Keep that in mind again. So that will end of June, but starting next fiscal year, the budget that we are looking at this moment. I completely agree with you. And FYI, people have heard that meeting and come to me for emergency, creating programs and this and that. And to use your word, that's not a slush fund. I said, okay, we're going to keep it simple. Emergency preparedness, we can do it within our county. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. I typically don't like to speak first, and I'm not the first, but I wanted to add that as our treasurer is talking about the money. Larry, JR, your thoughts on this one?
No, I think it makes total sense. And, when Misa wanted to do the mental health sign, she came to the board and did that. So it wasn't a slush fund, it's all that. I think, what you're saying makes complete sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
okay,
So I'll take that out.
your question.
So what do I do? If it was my own personal money, whatever I had extra, I would just stick it back in the bank. So I would recommend that 32,000 go into our LAIF account. That would be the recommendation that I would make but you're saying no. So what?
It's not going to be 32,000.
I think,
Sorry,
I
whatever it
think,
is,
I
what it-
think at the
yeah.
end of the day, honestly, it's going to be lower. I
Right.
really think it's gonna be lower. And what is the one of the best practices in terms of how much should you have on hand that is flexible? Is it, how many, let's see here, what is the expenditure for a month?
18 to 20,000 a month.
Okay, so this only gives you 2 months. Right? 2 months working capital. So you should have, you know, like, right?
Yeah, you're right.
You know, you can't, because the thing is that if it's not like it's I don't know how quick it is to, like, if you put it in life, then all of a sudden, oh, no, we need to like pay these bills, right?
30 days.
So you need to have the flexibility and, yeah, if 18 is your monthly kind of, then you only have like 2 months.
If I may, for your budget report, you can work on the language and I would appreciate feedback right now. Say you will come back mid-year budget, seeing how things are evolving on some things that are being worked on in this transition year or something to that effect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, even saying if we are, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really like looked at other nonprofits of our size or JPAs of our size. Like, what is there as a good practice? I mean, we should start thinking about what is the good practices that other JPAs you know, sort of follow in terms of working capital. This allows, and it would be perfectly okay to say this allows for 2 months working capital for the organization.
And just
I
leave it
mean,
at
it's
that?
not, yeah, I mean, it's not like an extraordinary amount, but I mean, you know, it's a good practice not to go down to,
Nothing.
Sure.
yeah.
That works for me, Larry.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so then we just leave it at that.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it also avoids a protracted discussion that is going to be in
Mhm.
words that you've frequently used, a Christmas tree.
Yes, 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 because, you know, I also think that it is less than what they had seen previously.
Yes.
And you're gonna make the adjustment, so you'll see that 32 go down even more.
Mhm.
And whatever is left, whatever that number is, as working capital, and, you know, I mean, even letting the board know that, hey, this 18,000 is usually the monthly you know, expenses, so you're within that sort of range to be able to take care of expenses.
Yeah, and we're working on the website and the assistant. And
Yeah.
and basically,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Okay. Any other thoughts on this one? Let's move on. We good? Okay, wonderful. So item number E for English, identify potential speakers for 2026. Shally?
You should see in your packets that there's a speaker request form from Valley Water.
Mhm.
So they have requested about 10 minutes in front of our board. They have a grant program that they want to talk about. I have also forwarded the flyer about this program
Mhm.
to our board after the last board
I
meeting.
saw that, yeah.
And I put a little blurb that they gave me in that email. So I've done, just so you know, that much has been done
Deadline dates?
for the grant program.
Yes.
I haven't looked at the flyer.
Okay,
It says
so
April 24th.
so,
I did tell them that our next meeting is not till April 9th.
okay,
And they
so.
didn't.
Yeah, so to move things along quickly, I'm going to take my prerogative of making a suggestion to you. Please send me an email so that we can make an announcement at the April 9th meeting, because that meeting is going to get busy. I actually hope, based on what I'm planning, I am waiting to hear back from people. And so if we can't get them there on April 9th, then we just announce to the people, to the board, right?
Right.
Does that work for everyone? Okay. Or other better suggestions? I'm open to better suggestions. I was just trying to save 5 minutes. Okay. Public comment?
So do I put them on the agenda and then we're like, oh, we don't have time?
No, we are
No,
not putting them on
Not
the
putting
agenda.
it At all.
No, we are not putting them on the agenda. I will add that to the president's update, and if you can jog my memory on that.
Yeah, I'll give you the blurb that they gave me.
Yeah. So that's it. we'll
thank
make
you.
the announcement as a reminder to the board members. Public comment, seeing none, bringing it back to the committee. Moving on to item number F, review April 9th, 2026 meeting agendas. The first agenda is the Legislative Action Committee. And like chair was not able to be here, but the agenda has been posted and sent. If I may jump in to speak based on the little bit that I know. He worked on some list of bills that I had suggested to him. I had suggested the topics based on the board priorities to think of bills aligned with those. And you have bills related to e-bikes, you have a list of bills related to the emergency preparedness. And there is one bill item with the bill number, I can't find it handy, that was suggested by at the ALPR study session. And two other bills that I want to suggest that came up in a different meeting that I was in. The other two bills that I want to mention are AB 1761. That's a PCIA transparency bill, which impacts all residents across the county if the board wants to, I think it'll be good for LAC to consider and then get their recommendation for the board. And I think the timing is now. And the second bill that I want to recommend is SB 1159, which that bill is talking of under Brown Act, specifically public comments to define within quotes a person versus AI generated comments. I can share more about that.
No, speed.
Yes, okay,
So if you want to add
If
those,
needed.
if you want
I
to
want to add those
you should
two.
add those, but the question is.
and we need to remove some of these.
What's
So
the question, do you?
how many bills? If you give me that authority, there is movement in this space, so I just need to hear.
Roughly, it's remember when you were LAC chair, we figured out it was about 7 to 8 minutes of discussion per bill.
Well,
Okay.
That's the question. If you want to go through those two bills that you talked about, put them as first and then, it's like figure out whether or not you want emergency or e-bikes for the next one.
Okay.
And then what you get through, you get through. And like, you don't know how much of a discussion there might be
Yes.
from the last standpoint.
And what was the language we wanted to add to the LAC committee agenda? Tentative list of bills? That way, if we can get.
No, it was not. So we have the discussion and then we talked about having an item that says. Proposed bills to talk about at the next LAC meeting.
That way we get input from the LAC members.
Correct.
That was the intent, right?
Right, so you can, so that is voting to talk about specific items at the next meeting, whether or not it's. Or just continuing through whatever bills
Okay,
the president and LAC chair say that they want to go through.
okay. Other quick thoughts on that?
I just have a question. So, I'm almost embarrassed, but I've not attended a LAC meeting. And so I'm just wondering, like, when we're looking at this, is there like a little snippet of these things, these bills?
The LAC agenda has details.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it stands in the process.
It's more than what the
What?
listing like it
No,
is here.
it's what's the
Oh,
title, what's
okay, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
a short summary.
All right,
because some
all
of
right.
those go on
I
forever.
guess I should, in preparation for future, should probably attend that. Okay.
There is a lot more
Thoroughly enjoy.
in that agenda. And I'm going to take some input from JR later
Yes.
on
Yes.
these specific bills.
Yes.
Okay,
So
So-
can I summarize what I've heard? On the LAC agenda, you want me to add AB 1761 and SB 1159, but keep them near the top.
At
So
the
they're
top.
At the top.
And then you and the LAC chair, whatever, can decide whether or not you want to talk about e-bikes or emergency preparedness.
One of the two subjects, add a few bills and we'll keep that there.
And then add an agenda item to propose bills to consider at next LAC meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's an action conceivably, that it's not just a proposal, but the LAC members can say, we want, because you might have 5 people saying, this is the most important bill that I want to talk about. And if the majority of them say that that's the top bill, then that would have been A for
the next
the
meeting.
next meeting.
Okay, perfect.
And just making it easier. And so the problem is the LAC chair has to make sure that you need to talk to Elliot, that there's time for that item. So you always at least, and it can go long, but it's a quick vote. It's like, because you can't discuss the bill in detail. You can just, so somebody brings a bill and says, I want to talk about this at the next meeting. Here's what the number is, here's the title, and here's kind of what it does. And then people vote yay or nay on this is part of our next meeting. So it helps the chair and it gives a little more, let's say, authority to the board members themselves.
Yes, and I want to add just one comment. At the last board meeting, the board really wanted state advocacy related bills brought up at LAC. And I'll just leave it at that, so that I have shared it with the executive committee today. Okay,
Yeah, that's it for that.
other comments on LAC
Yeah,
agenda?
just a couple of things for Rosemary's benefit. The sort of process that we formulated last year, or at least for providing information, is essentially what the bill is, where it currently sits, what the position of the League of Cities is on it, if it's known. Usually a link to any advocacy letter that they might already have, if it exists. And then a sort of synopsis of the bill in its current form and what votes have so far occurred on it, because there's usually some extensive legislative history by the time that we're looking at it. One of the logistical problems that always arises, and this is why it's helpful to have more bills on the list than we necessarily have time for, is that sometimes they die. Or they're radically changed and people don't have a whole lot of interest in them.
Yeah.
And one thing that we did find in general between last year and the year before is that if you group bills of a species together, so things that all address, say, fire safety
Yeah.
in one group, then it's a little easier to talk about them all together and get some sort of consensus going. Also because in some instances, it'll be the same authors too. So if the chair is reaching out to the author's staff to find out more information, it's easier to do. When we're all over the map, then it can get messy.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I want to add one more thing to that. What I found 2 years ago as LAC chair, those so many bills, when we sent a letter, there were some safety related, like public safety related, not emergency, and the crime related public safety. Some of those bills, so if I were to send a letter only on 2, those 2 may have died by the time the letter went out, but there were 6 others, which we thought were not that important. So just making the number, so if we said, okay, how about these 6, then it's easier to send the letter and at least have your voice heard on that subject. So those were some of the things that we were. Does that help you with the process? Okay,
Thank you.
I'll take public comment for the 2 together. Other thoughts on LAC? Okay, board agenda is a couple of thoughts on the board agenda. Yes, so I'm working on the emergency preparedness. Here is what I'm hoping to do. I have reached out to folks at the county EOC. I've spoken with the Emergency Managers Association president, who's at Gilroy. I've spoken with 2 or 3 city managers. And since this was the #1 board priority, and the timing is lining up in a manner that April can be a regional/county overview. There are newer members on the board this year, and they would help to hear. Hopefully we can get Dana Reed and Tom Chin. And then and before that, do a quick survey to see where council members/board members essentially are in terms of understanding this piece. The month of May, as a follow-up, we can do city focused, maybe having a couple of cities, small, large, how they approach this. the goal being really at the end of the 3 session, the June being the panel discussion on emergency preparedness, where we have all council members and city managers, or a big chunk from the county, from all the cities in the county, that we could come up with every city, here are some best practices, here are some resource lists, here are some checklists for you to consider. And maybe there is a 4 to 6 page document that every city can work on so that when we have onboarding of new council members, this is an election year, it is something of paramount importance in today's times. And yet when there's a brand new council member and city staff has to educate that person, especially those who haven't gone through massive Brown Act meetings. There is so much information overload that this gets to the bottom of the list in terms of attention, but having something ready can be handed over. That's like my very high level overview. I would really love your feedback. Because of the Brown Act, I can't, I can take ideas outside this committee. So please, if there is a way, you can send them to Shali and she can share with me. Larry, thank you for your feedback. I have spoken with you a couple of times on this. That's where I am. I'm still hoping to get Dana Reed. I know they came last year, but that was a very small duration, tiny durations. I'm hoping to get Tom Chin. Have you heard from him?
I reached out to him and just yesterday, so he's usually sometimes a couple days late, but I did my begging email.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And told him I'd buy him lunch. We're
Oh,
good
thank
to
you.
go. So I should be hearing from him and
Okay,
yeah,
thank
I'll
you.
let you know when I do.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Because there were, well, I won't say anything more. So that's an item I would say would be number 3. Councilmember Pat Bird, who from MTC, who wanted to discuss at length the MTC, that I had scheduled like 2 months ahead of time. I have personally spoken with him. Please stay tuned. I may need to either move you down the agenda or another month or something. So I'll probably ping him again today. And the third thing is, I believe legal suggested based on the sequence that item number 5, the executive director of professional services agreement moves to the May board meeting. That's what I understand from them based on how we are moving forward with the EC and the board meetings. Those are my only thoughts. And if anything else comes up, we may need to accommodate as well. Open to public comment for both agendas for April 9th meeting. Seeing none, close public comment, bring it back to committee. I really want your input on the board agenda, especially with the board asking for a study session kind of format, which we did last month for ALPRs. I really want your feedback.
It seems,
I wasn't there, so.
yeah, it seems to me that there is an interest in not being talked at,
Mhm,
that there is some level of engagement
mhm.
and maybe something that people can take back.
Mhm.
So I don't know that, you know, I don't know that it's a formal study session, but I do think that it's valuable for those who represent to be able to take back. Like I know that the interest in the ALPRs were received very well, right? That they can say, oh, well, this is the spectrum of what's happening in Santa Clara County, right? So as we think about these other topics, I would say, instead of thinking, oh, this has to be a study session or it has to be a certain format, I would say, what would you want people to walk away with, right? Like, what is it that we can, what value can we give them that they can say, hey, I'm going to share this with my colleagues because this is really good, right? You know, I think that, you know, even with the emergency preparedness, one of the things that I'm struggling with is how EOCs sort of work with each other. And it's not clear to me is, well, how do they work with community and the CERT program and all of that? Like, how does it, like, if something were to happen, right? Like, how does that all happen, right? I think that there's, with the city managers and the emergency services people, they know, but do we know? I don't know, right? I'm learning, but I think having.
So cities are doing, and so, sorry to
No,
jump
no,
in.
no, no.
But cities do, basically trial disaster
Yes,
things
yes,
and all that.
but not
But-
Larry, not everybody knows that.
Right,
Right?
right.
That they do these exercises and, scenario planning
So
and
I
all
think,
of
you know,
that.
every city that has an EOC is doing that sort of thing as part of their emergency plan.
Yeah.
I agree that, taking stuff back, so I think what was valuable, although I wasn't there, about the ALPRs is like, oh, look, I want to see what other cities around me are doing. Same thing
Yes.
for emergency preparedness.
Bingo.
And so if you can condense it down to questions, and yes, you'll get council members that don't, or city clerks or city managers that don't reply ahead of time with information. Having 50% of the city saying, going in and saying, here's what 50% of the cities are doing. We do a disaster drill every 6 months, or, and it's trying to figure out, I think all of our cities are not trying to one up their neighbors, but there's I'm hoping I'm as good as my neighbor. And that's why there's value in this. So here's what all the cities are doing for emergency preparedness for ALPRs, that has value. Whether or not it's like, well, we're not going to change, but look what this other city does or that city. So I totally agree.
Yeah.
It's if you can manage it down to an itemized list that you can get feedback on for each of the meetings, for the upcoming 1 or 2 meetings, that's the bigger question. So I leave that to you to try to figure out, to compartmentalize what you should be asking for, disaster preparedness. Similar to,
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
No,
totally.
I totally agree. I think, I had a discussion with a council member earlier today. And they're like, I don't see a lot of value, I was served on cities association for years and I don't see a lot of value. And it's like, what you're talking about right there is the value.
Yeah.
Same thing as good governance. Let's talk about, what all cities are doing, but similar ALPRs and all this. And it's like educating them because things are happening quickly all over the county, all over the Bay Area, whatever. But educating council members that then they can talk to their colleagues like, oh, this city does a disaster drill or charade, whatever, every 3 months, every 6 months, But then taking that back to their city manager or their colleagues of like, we need to do more in order to be prepared. And, we all have the emergency plans based upon our city. Hopefully there's, getting the county involved and how that correlates, but it's trying to figure out operationally what they're doing from, if you're focusing on emergency preparedness, that's part of that. It's like, do they have a CERT team? Do they have a SARS team?
Yeah.
How many of their members are working at the county drills? Because there's yearly county drills that the CERT teams from every city, if the city has a CERT team, takes part in. So.
Thank you. What was the other thing you said, CERT and?
So there's a county CERT, SARES, SARES, which is the
Yes.
radio,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, the amateur radio, yeah, very valuable too. I want to quickly jump in and make one comment. When I hear Rosemary and Larry with so much experience saying, I'm still trying to figure this out, that just says everything. And that's what I feel the board wanted, and yet they don't even know what to ask for, some of them. But that demonstrates there is a big need for us to learn about the basics. Going back to the comment I made earlier, no, we don't need a big program for all the cities to put $20,000 from Cities Association to create a program. No, before that, we need to educate us, all of us.
No, that all makes a great deal of sense. I think it's important that the people who are given this assignment walk away from it with something useful that you can also take back to their respective cities. It's part of the basic value proposition of the organization, right? We're not just, it's not all lack and choosing positions on bills.
Exactly.
Okay, question for you, Andrew. As I'm putting this survey together, the list of questions, can the EC members send an email to Shally, and rather than me waiting for her to send me emails, can they CC me without expecting a response from me? It may help me, or that's,
She has to summarize, sorry.
okay.
I think that would,
Okay.
raise, I think that would
Okay.
raise issues.
So can she copy paste the questions without names and send me?
Yes.
Okay, I am going to request that the three of you, please, any thoughts you have, if you can send to Shally, I would really.
The problem is, so you need to better define, so have Shally send out what your topics are
Mhm.
for the two meetings, because we can't
Agreed.
create it from a vacuum.
I have some thoughts, I'll put it together. And it's really hinging on if I can get Tom Chin and Dana Reed, because that's the format, and so.
I'll send a begging email myself. I
Yeah,
know
I'm
Tom
pretty,
fairly
yeah,
well.
yeah. I'm pretty confident we should be able to get them.
Okay,
It just takes a while to hear back from them because they're just so busy, but we got Tom after pestering him for our evacuation seminar and
okay, yeah, they have a lot going on,
Mhm.
so, yeah. And Leslie, if you don't know, Leslie is the one who has been working on this for Saratoga last year. So I'll leave it, I don't want to take your time, she's doing two jobs right now, that's why I've been trying to not load city station work on her. But I can do some work and just send it for a quick 10-minute or discuss next week one-on-one. So, okay, other thoughts on this? No, we're good. So in terms of the board priority, the e-bikes is what I'm thinking. We can do a survey and everything, come back in fall, line it up with as school opens and everybody's thinking. And there is legislation which is ongoing and likely to move forward is what I understood from my conversations with other folks. Leave it at that. Okay, this is an action item. Any other thoughts? So 3 changes on we already got feedback on the LAC agenda, changes.
I do have one quick thing.
Sure.
At least the way that it's described on the board agenda.
Mhm.
Feels really vague, and I think that there will probably be board members who have an issue with it and whether you could take action.
Mhm.
The recommendation here is receive update from Legislative Action Committee Chair and consider actions as requested by the chair. That's,
What would you suggest? It's basically meant to say that whatever the board, the LAC chair presents, that this is the recommendation from
Sure.
LAC. And then the board votes on it.
sure,
So
but we should either say that or
Right.
or reincorporate whatever was, just by reference, whatever is in the LAC agenda. Very specifically, I went and looked at what we did during the course of last year. And in it, we actually included each of the bills that had been considered. So this is from, what day was this? This was August the 14th. And it was listed as follows: Legislative Action Committee update, discussion and possible action, name of chair, then potential list of bills for consideration by the board of directors, including but not limited to the following, and then it gave each of the bills. That was very much a response to feedback that we were getting from board members and from members of the committee. Obviously, we don't have to be as specific as this in order to meet the requirements of the Brown Act, but there are people who feel like they want more clarity. So to the extent that we can give them that, I think that would be good.
thank you for bringing that up, because I'm thinking there are some who are not on LAC, but on the board.
Yep.
And they don't want to refer back to the LAC agenda, which is pretty fair, everybody's pretty busy. So giving the bill numbers here, I think is very important.
Mhm.
Thank you for bringing that up.
And I mean, the meeting is on the same day,
Yes.
right? So, you know, even if some of this is in limbo up until the day that it's published, which it frequently is because bills are changing, then, you know, what my rule of thumb on this always was to sort of over notice. So if I thought we were gonna address a bill,
Mhm.
I threw it in, and then if we didn't wind up getting to talk about it, or if we didn't wind up having an interest in it, or we couldn't reach a consensus, or it died, or whatever else, then we just didn't include it for.
And that's been the practice I've seen when Larry was on LAC, NISA, and I was just following these two. So we were careful. So let's do that. So do you want to read out the changes so we don't miss anything? In the board agenda, it has multiple changes. And at the end, my request is, before I forget, I need a motion specifically for the board agenda to leave some room for me.
Sorry, go ahead.
at the end.
Okay, for the board.
Mhm.
Let's see. Make emergency preparedness above as item number 3.
Mhm.
Move the executive director PSA to May.
Mhm.
Wanted to change the LAC chair update to be more specific with bills.
Maybe take the August 14th, 2025 agenda as a guide.
Sample.
Mhm.
Those are the ones I have.
And the MTC, I'll just leave it there. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, that's fine. I left it open.
Leave it there.
Okay.
And then from LAC, you had several changes.
So the last changes I've noticed, AB 1761 and SB 1159, put them at the top of the list. Add an agenda item which says something to the effect of proposed bills to consider at next LAC meeting as an action item. I think that's it.
Yeah, we've been trying to give LAC homework for a while and it's not been very successful, so maybe sticking it on the agenda, that's something to do.
And some of those bills will be removed, e-bikes or, okay. I'm going to work with JR and see if the emergency preparedness are relevant today and not like completely weak. Then to tie it with the board meetings, I think that may make more sense, just a thought.
No, just looking at the LAC agenda, under item 4, early bill review, is it always discussion? Do they not take any action?
The action that they would take is to make a recommendation to the board.
So there should be an action there,
Yeah.
potential action.
Potential action?
Okay,
So it's discussion and potential action?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
thank you for catching that. Yeah, that's important, Shelley.
That might be artifactual because last time there were lots of bills that wouldn't have yet had much in the way of content.
Yeah.
Now they have.
And so, yeah, now everything has contents.
Andrew, a request for you, when you see these agendas, the LAC and board, specifically, can you catch these two things so that they are more transparent and very specific for us to be able to take action?
You mean the bills?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the item, the way it's calling it, like LAC item number 4, the early bill thing, discussion and action. So that
Potential.
Potential action.
potential action.
Discussion and potential action.
And for the board also, there was, what was something you caught? Yeah, the number 6 where legislative action committee, the
Yeah.
action, we list them.
Yeah.
So those are important from the government perspective and transparency.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last bit.
For the board agenda,
Yeah,
number 6, which is legislative action committee update, it's an action item to list the bills that we list in the LAC meeting that night.
sure.
List the bill numbers,
Yep.
the language to reflect more specifically, as JR pointed out.
Okay. Thank you, Jair. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Just want to make sure we don't miss those two very important things.
So I move the approval of the 2 agenda items or two draft agendas and give President Walia the appropriate ability to change the agenda with the director as needed.
Second.
Any other comments? No, we've had enough discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Passes unanimously.
And my apologies, Tina, I actually need to sign off.
Okay,
I
no
have a
worries.
hard stop at 6. I didn't
Yes.
expect this to go.
We are in a good spot. Thank you. Great timing.
Okay,
We are running behind schedule, but we are good. Thank
my
you. Thank you.
apologies. Good to see you all.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
I follow the wording on
Yes.
that one.
Okay, moving on. EC meeting agenda item G for green grass. Future, I'm making this up. Future meeting topics. Provide direction on potential topics. Any thoughts on?
I think you have your hands full.
With grass.
Open for public comment? Close public comment? Other thoughts? No? Moving on to item H for Henry, Santa Clara County City Managers Association update and Leslie Arroyo.
Gosh, we have not met since the last time we had the board meeting. We'll be meeting, I think, in 2 weeks. The conversations as of late, though, have really still been about PR usage. That's been kind of going around just through city manager emails and policies. There's also been the discussion of the use of AI in the workforce. And then the big thing that I've just seen recently too is just kind of the Leadership Academy. So kind of doing recruitment for Leadership Academy. So that's really the latest and greatest.
Thank you. Okay, with that, moving on to the executive director update.
I'll keep it super short, and since I have the 2 most active members of the website committee here, I am working on being the point person working on that, but Pepe Smith really wants to know if you approve the new logo and the site map. Like, I feel like I don't have enough knowledge to know what to do about site maps. There's Melanie's email said, did you like what we did with the site map, something like that?
Okay, I'll go back to the site map.
Thank you, Larry. Because he's been commenting on that and I thought he already had, so maybe they have added question or something, and Larry, you were good with the logo, right?
You got my last feedback, right?
Yeah, we worked on it multiple
Well,
times.
what she did is she made an, I don't know. She wants to know, is option 1 the one that you're going with? And so I just want to hear a clear yes from you guys.
The blue, she responded, Larry, to be very quick. The blue, she said, yes, it's light blue
Like
and white,
light blue.
those rays.
That wasn't what they showed us.
Do you want to change that? Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's not what, so I need to find her email, but that's not what was, as I said in my email, it was light blue and lighter blue in the.
Original one, not
Original.
white and blue.
Right.
Is that, so, okay, work on
That's
that.
not-
Is she
it's
saying
not-
white and light blue? Well, we can move on that.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I'll go back.
Yeah.
The other thing I just wanted to tell everybody here is that there's 2 weeks that I am going to be out. So the first one is a week in April. It's the annual public education advocacy trip to Washington, DC. I am able to respond to emails and stuff in the evenings. During the day, I don't really know what's happening. And it's right after our board meeting. Okay. The other one is my daughter is graduating college.
Oh,
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations.
So that's the week of May 16th to the 23rd. I won't be answering emails, taking both. I don't know how to say that nicely, but I'd like to be 100% present. I'll put it that way. Yeah. And that's also, I leave right after the board meeting. And so I very briefly mentioned it to Tina, but I did talk to Danny a little bit about it. So Danny and I are gonna work on getting all these agendas and all these things that would have been due the week of, getting all of that done ahead of time. So that we're not,
Yeah.
no balls are being dropped.
The key part, thank you for sharing. The key part at that point would be the June 11th event, the May one, when you are absolutely not available. So my suggestion would be to work on those timelines
Okay,
to make sure we don't get into an awkward position about June 11th. That's about it, which we're anyway trying to work on ahead of time.
but I'll
Sure,
see you.
super.
That's pretty much all I wanted
That's
to
it.
say.
Okay, with that, we're gonna move on to the last item on tonight's agenda, which is the closed session. And this is a performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. And this is for the Executive Director of Cities Association of Santa Clara County, and there's a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Any public comment on this item?
None online.
I don't see public comment, so I want to make an announcement that we will be sharing the report at the next executive committee meeting so that we can now close the recording of this session of this executive committee meeting. And the meeting will adjourn offline after the closed session is over.
So we stop recording?
Yes, let's please stop the recording.
I will.
Thank you.
Let me just, 1 second. I just want to make sure that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
live